Hi.
What's up, Daphne?
How's it going?
Good. This is my first time doing a live. I've never done one before, so it's pretty cool.
Yay. So yeah, let's just hop right in and I'm sure people will come in and out of the live. Welcome to 98%. I'm so happy to have you.
I know. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So I'm just going to lay the context down if you've never heard of 98% before. 98% stems from one statistic that only 2% of collegiate athletes go pro. So, what happens to the other 98%? We're just walking around the world, living our regular schmegler lives, probably doing our masters or working, going to the gym, going to the grocery store, and nobody truly knows what we've accomplished at such a young age. And my goal here is to empower athletes to share their story because their story can inspire other people who are going through a similar journey. And I also believe that other athletes should recognize that their story is unique, meaningful, and inspiring. So, as long as your story can touch one life, I think I've done my job and you've also done your job as well. So, Misana, one thing that strikes me about you, well, we were at UCLA together, we were on the track team together, and that's how we met. And you've always been a bundle of joy and laughs. And one thing that strikes me about you is just where you started and kind of where you are now. And I really want people to hear your story in that aspect. So we're just gonna hop right in, and I just want to ask you, why hurdling?
Yeah. I feel like a short answer to that is because I wasn't that fast, which is kind of funny to think about because I ran track. But my dad was actually a hurdler back in the day, and he ended up running track for USC in college. And playing football. So that's kind of why I got into to track in general. And then he used to always tell me like, when it's time for the 100, everybody and their mom shows up for the 100. You got 20, 30, 40 heats of the 100. Everybody wants to run the 100, especially club track, high school track, college track. It's always so many people who want to run the 100. But when it comes to the hurdles, it's such a very specific event where you have a lot of more opportunities. And I just wasn't that fast. I wanted to be a 100 runner, just like everyone wants to be a 100 runner, but I just didn't have the speed to do that. So I feel like that's why I got into hurling. It's just to have an opportunity, and I just practiced and got good and made the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, you made the most of it for sure. I was reading your stats just before I came on here, and you were the Pan Am Junior World Champ, right? I mean, amazing. You were wearing Team USA on your chest. That's probably one of the greatest honors there is, especially as a junior athlete, a youth athlete, and even a professional athlete. So, congrats to you on that. So, you started your journey at UCLA. Can you talk us through what brought you to UCLA and like what you wanted to study and kind of where you ended up?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like I said, my dad went to USC and he played football and ran track. So I was the biggest USC fan. Like my mom just decorated my room, but before my room was decorated, it had a USC stuff all over. I used to go to every USC football game. Used to go to get their little signatures and stuff. Was a huge Trojan fan, but I feel like it ended up happening where, to be honest, UCLA just offered more money, and at that time, I was like, you know what? I don't want my parents to have to pay for college if I don't need them to pay for college. And so that's kind of what led me to UCLA. And I'm a big homebody, so I like to be close to home, especially at that
Mm,
time. And UCLA was far, it's like 30 minutes away, but it's still not that far. So I feel like it
yeah.
was a perfect place for me, and I really enjoyed it. I really like UCLA.
I love that. Yeah, no, UCLA was far, 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 far from home for me, and
Yeah.
I liked it. Even though I am a homebody, but yeah, for sure, I did go home when I needed to go home.
Yeah.
And I was blessed to have parents that kind of was just like, we come home if you like, kind of thing,
Yeah.
and they'll make it happen. So what did you study when you started at UCLA? I think a lot of us athletes we have this funny journey of thinking that this is what we're gonna do when we walk in, and then do a complete 180 and end up doing something completely different.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like a lot of students coming out of high school, they don't really have a plan, especially when they're going to like these big colleges. But I feel like their parents always have a plan for you. They like
Yeah.
know what what degree they want you to get, what job they want you to get, and they have your whole life plan. So I feel like at that point, especially when you're just coming out of high school and you're listening to your parents for basically everything, um, I kind of just listened to them, and they wanted me to go to like be a businessman and be in like the real estate, and I was kind of into that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a business economics major, and it's gonna be fun. And it's funny because we were talking earlier about how everyone, all of our friends came in bio majors, neuroscience majors. Everyone was a doctor, a lawyer, something like that. And we were like so stubborn in the fact that we knew we were gonna do this, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like I really had to be flexible with my major, and I was lucky because I understood it in the beginning of my college career, where I ended up transferring majors. I ended up being a political science major. It was a little less stressful than business economics, a little less math classes,
Mm-hmm.
which I really enjoyed. So yeah, that's what led me to be a political science major, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really cool major, so I liked it.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely came in as engineering. Did a couple calculus classes. Actually finished the physics requirements.
Yeah, you stuck with it for a minute.
For a long time. And it took me, I wish somebody had talked to me earlier about like, hey, you're not doing so well in these classes and you're struggling a little too much, a little too hard. Change your major. And it took me about 3 years.
You were always studying, Daphne. It was
Look,
always, I gotta go study over here. I gotta go do this. I'm like, dang.
nobody saw me at parties. Yeah, it was I would really try to stick to the sciences because that's what my parents wanted me to do. Um,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
know? So yeah, I switched my major to sociology my junior year. It was like winter quarter, and one of the advisors was like, "Hey, you're not going to be able to finish the major in a year," and I was like, "Watch me." And I did
Mm,
that. So, so like when you're motivated and you're trying to just get it done and get up out of there, that was my goal. But yeah, I ended up sociology, and I ended up loving the major in the end of the day. So
yeah. I tried to be a social major too. And in the first class, I got like a C minus, and I was like, I gotta switch majors. This is too much too.
I was like, this is so easy compared to calculus. Like, I was
I
having a field
know.
day.
Yeah.
So what made you transfer to Berkeley? I know that your year was a really interesting year. It was actually the year after I graduated when a lot of the top track athletes actually transferred from UCLA. So it was really interesting to see you guys make that transition. So why did you go to Berkeley, our rival as well, right?
Right. I know. Well, it's interesting because when I tell people that I transferred, their first question is like, "Oh, like why did you hate UCLA?" Or like, "What did they do to you? Like, what happened?" And it's like, to be honest, I loved UCLA. Like, my best friends still come from UCLA. I had a blast at UCLA. I think the real reason I transferred is just to get a better opportunity. I feel like life is really just about making transitions and making good choices and taking the most out of from your opportunities. And I feel like I was able to take the opportunity that we were talking about. Like what happened at the time at UCLA was all the coaches ended up getting fired because of some drama that had happened, and it
Mhm.
kind of opened the doors or gave us an opportunity if we wanted to transfer schools. Because especially I know like at the Division 1 level, it's very complicated to transfer schools. It's not just like high school transferring. There's a lot of rules and things barriers you have to overcome to transfer, and a lot of legal stuff. So I feel like at that time, I wanted a fifth year, and UCLA didn't want to give it to me. And I wanted it for one, I wanted to be an education minor, and I didn't have enough time in a year to be an education minor. I knew I wanted
Mhm.
to have a career in education, and I knew I needed a fifth year for that. so academically wise. And then as far as athletically, I felt like I wanted another year. I felt like I could do more if I had another year, and I just was not ready to graduate. I feel like I was kind of getting a little nervous, like, oh, it's I'm a junior about to be a senior, and I don't know how, I don't have any plans for after this. I
Mm.
don't want to be going home sitting on my parents' couch. I need something to do. So I feel like I was kind of a little nervous about that, and I talked to my high school coach, and he was telling me about all these schools. These schools are still interested in you if you want to take it. And then I heard about the opportunity at Cal, and Cal is an awesome school. It was in the Pac-12. It had a solid track program,
Hmm.
and it was away from home, but it wasn't too far from home. I feel like I was a little jealous of you guys at UCLA because everyone was from a different place. No one was from SoCal except for me. And I felt like I was kind of jealous because you guys had this great opportunity where people were meeting in LA from different places and could share that, and that being independent. And I feel like I kind of wanted that. So for a lot of different reasons, I thought going up to Cal would be great. And they offered me a scholarship, and I ended up taking it and had a blast there too.
Yeah. So a couple of things that you said. So one, knowing when to make a change, right? Like that's huge. I think a lot of us, it takes a lot of maturity and a lot of wisdom to understand when you need to make the change. And I remember before, I mean, the coaches all got fired in your year. It was tough. It was tough having to deal with the coaching changes. I wasn't competing. I wasn't training yet. I was on a full scholarship, and it was hard for me to even want to make a change because I didn't even have the stats to do so. And if I were to try to go anywhere else, it would not be the same. So to be at a great school like UCLA, like I just had to make do with what I had at the time. And the best change that I could make was just to change my major and to hang up the spikes,
Mm,
and to focus on, my mental health and just enjoy school and friends and all of that.
yeah.
So another thing that you had said was also moving, right? When you move from home, from your like home area, you definitely gain this sense of independency and growth and maturity as well. So like what did you learn about yourself when you moved to San Francisco?
Um, I learned a lot about myself, especially that year, because I feel like I didn't have the my parents right there if I needed something or if I wanted something. And I finally got to have a car in college, which is a whole new experience. And I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I feel like I had a lot of life opportunities and a lot of life experiences that I just wouldn't have had I been home that I got to have. I feel like I became sort of a mentor, or like they used to call me the grandpa on the team because I was like the older one. I was like the fourth year, fifth year. I kind of had known a couple things. And I kind of like that. Like it was nice to kind of be like the older person on the team that can like share experiences and learn from other people's as well. So yeah, it was cool. I thought it was a really great year as far as learning about myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. It was so funny. I was always kind of jealous of everybody else that was from California that went to school locally because you all got to go home so easily.
Yeah.
So it's funny hearing your perspective. So now you're in education. So I had no clue that you wanted to be in education. You know what? Let's even pause for a second. Masana has his master's of education, right?
Yeah.
From Stanford University. So not only did he attend UCLA, Cal Berkeley, but also got into Stanford. And what it looks like from us small people not from California is like you went to the Ivy Leagues of the West. So, so for you to be able to get accepted into all three schools, I just like congratulations. Like that's amazing. So, what made you want to get into education?
Yeah, I have. My dad was a huge influence in that way. He was an educator. He had a 40-year career as an educator. He was a high
Mm,
school teacher, slash coach, and then he became a principal. And I feel like he influenced a lot of us. A few of my sisters are also educators, and I think just listening to his stories about how much fun he had, and working the system and helping out these students, and just having really inspired me to want to get into education. And then another thing is, especially, and we were just talking about this when it comes to majors, is one big advice that people give is like, if you're trying to figure out what to do, think about like what opportunities you've already taken, and like
mm-hmm,
just try to build onto that. And already I was doing a lot of tutoring and a lot of
mm,
work with students. Even at UCLA, they have like a UCLA Lab elementary school, like an elementary school that's a part of the campus. And so we were doing
mm.
work over there. And then I went to Cal and was doing, I had a teaching position, and I was just working with a lot of students in general. And I just kind of thought about it like, I'm doing a lot of this work and I'm kind of enjoying it. I was like, maybe I should just kind of make a career out of it. And so I did.
I love that. Yeah, I'm so glad that you were able to kind of find that path, even intertwined at UCLA. I know UCLA does have a lot of resources. You just have to find them.
Yeah.
I think that, one opportunity for growth at UCLA that I found was a bit problematic for me was that I didn't know that these resources were available until a month before I was out the door. So,
Right.
even though I did have a backup plan, because I think like everybody tells you to have a backup plan,
Yeah.
I wanted to go to physical therapy school, but again, like I was just so exhausted from school that I was just ready to graduate, and I was just looking for any kind of window. So the services that they did have, I didn't really tap into too much when I found out about them, but I wish somebody like had prepped me for, resume building and interviewing and stuff like that. So I'm so happy that you were able to find like that tutoring avenue while you were in school and finding things that you actually liked
Yeah.
to do. I think another thing that's hard is like when you have your sights set on going pro or going to the Olympics, it's kind of hard to really figure out who you are outside of the sport. Finding other hobbies that you like because like you're just zoned in to that specific goal. So I love the fact that you were able to find what you liked, something that was almost kind of like a hobby that turned into a passion for you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk to you also about just embracing your purpose. So what led you to kind of embrace who you are within athletics and outside of athletics, and kind of how do you motivate yourself as a teacher today?
Yeah. I think, and that kind of speaks to a lot of the stuff we've been talking about,
Mhm.
is I've learned a lot from track and field, like about life from track and field. Like I've
Mhm.
learned so much because, in the beginning, we're all superstars in our own, high school or wherever you're starting the sport at, especially to make it to like you said, the small percentage that makes it on the college track. You're a superstar at first. And I feel like everyone gives you accolades for being an athlete. People don't give you accolades for studying on a test or for, doing certain things. But when it comes to track and you're running fast, everyone's gonna say, "Oh my God, you've got to go to Olympics. Oh my God, you've got to do this. You're gonna be great. You're gonna be a star. You got to go pro. Like, oh, it's gonna be so exciting." Blah blah blah. And I feel like you really internalize that as a kid, like, "Wow, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this." And I feel like that's when you're in that mindset, that's the only thing that you have. You're like tunnel vision. I have to go pro. I have to be a star. I have to be, have to be successful at this. And I think, especially at UCLA, when I started realizing that I was not having the same success as I was in high school, I was like, oh God, this is not right. I'm gonna have to like, and I remember coming home from practice and just like breaking down, like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, this doesn't feel good. I don't like it. This is not what I thought it was gonna be like. And you start internalizing it, like you said, and start thinking like, wow, it's not only that I'm not successful at track, but it's I'm not successful just at life,
At
because this is
life,
so
yeah.
yeah, because this is so much a part of who I am. So I feel like that those experiences and not being good at something and things not going the way that you planned and feeling like you're letting people down, that really gave me the avenue to think about life as a whole. There's so much more to life than track, even though at a young age there really isn't. There's so much more and there's such a vast way of being successful. It's not just about track. And there's so many ways that you can be successful and feel success and have your parents feel success for you too. Because a lot of times you might feel like, oh, I'm letting my parents down. They thought I was going to do this. I don't want to, it's not even letting yourself down, but it's the other people that really hurt your feelings that you feel like you're not living up to what they thought you could
Yeah.
do or they thought you should do. Um, but that ties into elementary school teaching because I started thinking about, all right, I'm going to have to think of something else to feel success at, to feel like I'm doing it at in the same way. And I feel like with education, especially something specific about education is teaching kids how to read. That
Mm-hmm.
is like, I get the same feeling from that. Like, it's almost crazy,
Mm-hmm.
like that feeling of like, winning that big race and everyone like, woo, about you or whatever. I feel like I get that same feeling from, taking a kid who's reading at a kindergarten level to like getting him or her at a third grade level. Like, I feel that, wow, like I just did something incredible that not a lot of people can do, which is like the same feeling that I felt with track. So I feel like I was able to find that and just kind of hone in on it and, learn a lot of things from it, get a master's in it, and then keep it going and be a teacher. So yeah, I loved it.
All of that, well said, Misana. Well said. I think a big thing is what does success look like for me outside of the sport? And I measured my success from that first place, second place, or my parents, congratulating me, happy that, I won a race or something like that. And all of that was stripped from me when I got injured. And I wasn't doing too well in school. So I thought, yo, your girl sucks at life. And where I truly found success was, I think it was like my third job out of college. My first and second job, it wasn't like anybody was really saying like, hey, Jeff, you're doing great at your job. In fact, my manager was like, you suck. You're not
Mm,
that great. And I was holding the team on my back. I was like, what do you mean? But there was other like levels to that as to why they just didn't want to see me be successful. And then to go into a company where they want to see you successful, they want to see you thrive, and they coach you and they teach you. And that was the first time I heard like, you did really well with your client, like you're doing amazing, like the work that you're putting out is top notch. And that's when I really started feeling successful at life. And I made multiple changes, but I mean, embracing your purpose and finding what it means to be successful is part of actually embracing your purpose in life, because all things pretty much just fall into place thereafter.
yeah,
So yeah, well said,
definitely.
Masana. Do you have any like closing comments? We have a team in here that is just rooting you on.
I know. Yeah, I guess closing comments. I really love 98% because I think we were talking about it before, is that it really talks to everyone. Everyone can really connect with it. Like people who want to be athletes, people who are current athletes, college athletes, or people who are alumni, and even people who aren't even athletes. They can really attest to that because I feel like life is really just about making transitions. You're constantly making a transition, especially when you're young. You're constantly seeing new people, making new relationships, trying to get to a new level of whatever success means to you, and I feel like that's a big thing that I wish I had learned earlier is just be flexible,
Hmm.
because I feel like you can hurt your own feelings when you try to stick to something that isn't right, even though it might be right in your that moment. Got to make sure you're able to be flexible with your goals, and just you never know what success is gonna mean, and you keep doing it. There's something that you keep transitioning, you keep taking more opportunities and trying to make the best with what you have. So yeah, that's my advice is just be flexible with your goals.
Thank you. Yes, be flexible, be agile, and just have a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Everything takes time, it takes patience to really figure out who you are and who you want to be. And life is not a race. I mean, seeing as that we both run track, we're going to use a track analogy. Life is not a race, right? And like when we're in our lanes, we don't look to our left or to our right. We're told not to look behind us. It's a huge no-no. Everybody runs their own race. Everybody runs at their different speed, and everybody's destination is not the same. And it doesn't really matter how you start, but it's how you finish.
Yeah.
In everybody's journey, it's not a straight line. It's curves and turns and twists and even upside down. Life will just flip you in ways that you didn't even expect it to. As we've learned today, is just to stay flexible in it all and keep your eye on your prize. Um, so Misana, thank you so much for coming on 98%. I
Yeah.
truly enjoyed having you here. You were dropping gems. I can't wait to see how far you continue in your education route. And I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. I love the platform. I feel like you're doing great work. I'm glad
Thank
there's someone
you.
out here who's given, these post-athlete experiences because they vary so differently and they're so interesting. I like watching the other athletes and hear about what they're going through and how they end up doing what they're doing. So I love it. I think it's a great platform. Thank you for sharing it with me.
Thank you.